This is a Phoenix Media program, an innovation of USQ.
Listen mornings live and local on Brisbane Youth Radio on 11:07 AM and digital radio and online at phoenixradio.com.au. My name's Nick.
My name is Alexander.
And good morning, I'm Al.
Oh, we're back.
I'm back again.
Boys are back in town for
Boys
the
are
morning.
We're better than Triple M.
Oh, who?
Libby and Stav and Gav got nothing on us.
Oh my gosh. Well, today's show we've got some news, we've got some quizzes, we've got some interviews.
We do. We've got some more scientific interviews for you this week, keeping in tune with that lovely space and other research and sort of lovely.
And you have a special camera segment on today.
I
I'm
do.
looking forward to.
Yeah.
See, I'm so glad I'm surrounded by lovely people such as yourself that are actually concerned with education, as opposed to, hey, let's just make funny jokes. Because it's more about, hey, we can
Yeah.
educate and entertain.
Yes.
Yes.
A bit of both.
Yeah, and
Melds.
that's yeah. Well, that's what the interview is coming up. We I don't know if anybody caught us last week with the interview with one of our professors. And we pre-recorded that, but the recording went for another almost 10 minutes afterwards of just me asking questions that didn't make it through because I was just so interested in it, which unfortunately we didn't capture, which is a shame. But, you know, we're all interested in education here, which is fantastic.
Yes. Well, we've got some music now. Some good beats today.
Good beats.
Good beats. So we've got the Whitlams with Blow Up the Pokies.
Oh, that's such a great song.
Oh, is it?
I love that
Ooh.
song.
Ooh, can't wait to have a listen. And right now we have Vance Joy with Saturday Sun. It's going to be a bit of a bop.
Trains run on time.
This is the morning, it's live and local, and it's currently 10 past 10 it's on Brisbane Youth Radio. I just stuffed up that intro. Phoenix Radio and Digital Radio. And now for the latest news.
Alrighty, Coles will remove plastic wrapping from its bananas and other fresh produce as part of a wide-ranging series of commitments to reduce food waste, landfills, and plastic packages over the next 4 years. Announcing what it called an unprecedented 10 commitments on packaging and recycling on Monday. The supermarket said it would introduce new initiatives such as removing double plastic packaging for fruit and selling bunched vegetables like kale and silver beet without plastics. It comes amid growing calls for Coles, Woolworths and Aldi to cut down excessive packaging. Photographs of individually wrapped bananas, sweet potatoes and cucumbers have sparked outrage on social media and condemnation from environmental groups in recent months.
Teens are unfriending Facebook in droves as they move towards cooler social media platforms, a new study says. The percentage of Americans between the ages of 13 to 17 on Mark Zuckerberg's social network, Facebook, now sits at about 51%, down from 71% in 2015. The New York Post reported that new members come from a Pew Research survey of teens and technology use, which found that Facebook now trails significantly behind Instagram and Snapchat, which 72 and 69 respectively % of teenagers say they use. It was a 20% jump for Instagram, which is now owned by Facebook, and a 20% pop for Snapchat, which is also owned by Facebook. The most popular platform for teens, however, was the video streaming site YouTube, which 85% of teens said they use for now music and video. The dip wasn't unexpected for Facebook. The social network has struggled to stay relevant with younger audiences as their parents signed up to monitor their child's social presence, and stayed after the kids moved to the visual nature of Snapchat and Instagram picture-based services.
Commonwealth Bank has agreed to pay $700 million and legal costs to resolve proceedings brought by Austrac after admitting to breaching anti-money laundering and counter-terrorism laws. The agreement, which includes $2.5 million in legal fees, is subject to federal court approval. If agreed by the federal court, it will represent the largest ever civil penalty in Australian corporate history. Chief Executive Matt Comyn said that the settlement brings certainty to one of the most significant issues we have faced. While not deliberate, we fully appreciate the seriousness of the mistakes we made. Our agreement today is a clear acknowledgement of our failures and it is important steps towards moving the bank forward. On behalf of Commonwealth Bank, I apologise to the community for letting them down. Austrac launched proceedings in August last year, claiming CBA had breached anti-money laundering and counter-terrorism financing laws by failing to monitor tens of thousands of transactions through its smart ATM network. The federal court hearings understood to be scheduled in the next few months. The parties will together approach the court with the settlement agreement. And now time for the weather. Low this morning of 15 degrees and it's currently 23 degrees in Ipswich. Mostly sunny today and tomorrow. Possible overcast for Wednesday, reaching a top of 24 degrees in Ipswich today.
Beautiful. Interesting articles today, right, fellas?
Right.
Yeah.
And the social media one, I want to have my 2 cents
Yes,
in this.
yes.
No, absolutely. Go right ahead.
I completely agree with that because, I mean, from the young people I know, which is mostly my sister's friends, she's turning 16 this week. Oh, wow.
Have you got a gift?
I'll find something eventually.
Your love is gift enough, really.
Exactly.
The gift of love.
My presence is enough for you.
My presence is my present.
But just seeing from her, she has Facebook, but she does not post anything.
Yes.
She just uses it to scroll and use Facebook Messenger.
That's exactly what I use it for.
yeah.
The only other thing I use it for is whenever I post to Instagram and I share that post.
And I
In your various locations where you're actually not at.
I have like 200 gigabytes of data of like all throughout the east coast of Australia that I'm editing one by one. So one day I'll be in Melbourne, the next day I'll be in Hell's
It's
Cap,
fantastic. It's always interesting. It's always interesting.
Yeah.
but like not many younger people nowadays use it.
Facebook.
I like it just because all I share is stupid satirical articles because they're funny and I find them funny.
That makes sense.
But yeah, the move is definitely going towards Instagram, Snapchat, and I personally think Twitter as well. They didn't mention it in an article, but
Yeah,
more and more people are using Twitter
You
nowadays.
think? Because they reckon Twitter's not going to last very much longer.
I agree. I disagree.
I think that is, if that is the case, I think that's such a shame because I pretty much agree with like 90% of what you're saying about Facebook. I do agree it was aimed at a younger audience.
Yeah.
However, it's completely
It's-
out.
now
it's
the
completely
that younger
down.
audience has aged.
It's aged.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And so it's full of
So Facebook wasn't
parents.
meant. Yeah, so Facebook wasn't meant for that longevity. However, what I'm fearing, and this is my 2 cents. This is my 2 cents. Please, this does not represent US. This does not represent.
Here we
people
go.
My 2 cents is I think Facebook can be very useful as a journalism student. I can see the value in having that social media, the integration of the public sphere and the media sphere. It gets blurred. I can understand that. However, Snapchat and Instagram is not news sources.
No,
No,
it's
it's
not.
not.
No.
You can get what Kylie Jenner wore at the carpet. You know what I mean? That's the story on Snapchat. But at least with Facebook, there's a minimal chance of you actually getting a credible news source link. You don't get them in the other ones that are predominantly used.
Snapchat did introduce those news stories, but I don't check them because
It's very
I
trivial.
just
It's
don't
very
care.
trivial.
I look at one and it's called Mashable, and basically it's just like what's happening in the Apple universe, and
Okay.
that's like, but it's all
That's
rumors.
very limited. That's just Apple.
Very limited, yeah.
Yeah.
However,
think-
I would. Sorry.
So yeah, so these two, Instagram and Snapchat, are almost 100% based on image sharing, whereas Facebook offers that text, right? And I think that's
People
the
don't
biggest
like reading.
difference. Yeah,
And I think people
our
also,
generation.
people are very
Yeah.
sick of getting that click revenue. Everyone's getting sick of click revenue.
Yeah.
And I do too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so basically our generation is just we're into pictures now.
I would agree with that. I think Twitter is the new frontier of digital
Yep.
information. I got hooked on, I'm not going to lie, I got Twitter I think 2 months ago. Nick actually helped me set one up. And I love Twitter because it is such a good way to stay connected with things that you love, but also you get connected with the people that do things that matter. And I think Twitter is a great source for current information.
Yeah.
It's now one of the few things which posts chronologically.
Yeah.
As in, like, what you see first is what was just posted.
Yeah.
Unlike Facebook and even Instagram nowadays, and that's why I'm not a big fan of Instagram, is because I scroll down and I like a photo. Oh, that person posted that 2 days ago, and it looks like I'm stalking their profile.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
I hate that.
Yeah.
But like with Twitter, it's like
It's
all in
right
order.
there.
Unless someone retweets something from 2 days ago, that's okay because they retweeted
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
So
And then
that's
you're
why-
liking their retweet.
Yeah, exactly. But like, yeah, and that's why I like it. Plus, because again, news is what's happening right now. It's not like, oh, this happened 2 days ago, but I'm just going to show it to you now.
There's something familiar. There's something very similar with the way. So both Facebook and Twitter are text, right? There's something very familiar with the way that Twitter is with Snapchat, and that's Snapchat are 10-second photos. Instagram has a photo that you scroll past. Twitter is 140 characters.
It's boosted up to 240.
40.
I
So
want to say
240 characters. Facebook is almost unlimited.
Yeah.
So there's that difference of we've got short bursts of information instead of a similar post on Facebook, which can be upwards of a whole page long.
And that can be very beneficial when you it's beneficial from again, I'll whip it out, the journalistic point of view, because the inverted pyramid of information varies pretty much to any industry. The most important information should be the top one. And that when you only have 250 characters to use, make sure it's important.
Exactly.
However, when you're a younger person, you develop those habits where you can't digest longer reading. So you develop inabilities to comprehend longer texts, and that affects your studies. It affects how you correlate with reading, and so it almost feels like those social media platforms are promoting limited text, more visuals, and it does have a benefit. But I personally believe, again, not representative of everyone here in USQ, I personally believe it's detrimental in the long run, because people are going to be people, and studies have shown this. People, the younger generation are going to grow up with that disadvantage of not being able to comprehend, understand, and I've already said comprehend long texts.
Yeah.
Won't be able to look at textbooks or read.
Attention span.
Yeah, exactly that. So.
If I'm looking at a benefit point of view, it encourages creativity, because you
yeah.
can't write a huge long
You've got a
paragraph.
very limited space.
So you got to be smart about how you write it. But that, again, I guess it has positives and benefits. I see it as a positive way as creative, but I get where you're coming from with the negative.
There's a positive way that you could link to longer articles, but the chances of someone clicking on that is...
That's something I completely forgot, actually, yeah, because as a music standpoint, they always say music is like, once you limit what you can do, that's when you become creative, and I think that's so true. And if that's true for everything else, well, in academia, go for it.
There's some songs coming up. Got to wrap it up here.
There we
I
go,
love
music.
talking. We've got George Ezra with Paradise, but right now we've got Pink with What About Us. That was Paradise by George Ezra. You listen to Mornings Live and Local on Brisbane Youth Radio 1197 AM and Digital Radio online at phoenixradio.com.au. It's currently 10:30. Now, this weekend in sport, we have the amazing, the incredible After 80 host Terry Pascoe on the line. Hi, Terry.
Hey, Nick.
How's this weekend?
Oh, mate, exciting weekend, actually. Lots of points scored, which is interesting, which means defence wasn't great. But a few surprise ones. I was out at the Jets-Bears game, and the Jets unfortunately went down 42-20. I guess there's something just missing with the Ipswich Jets team at the moment. I'm just not too sure what it is, and maybe they're just missing those couple of players. I got to catch up with one of the co-coaches, Ben Walker, straight after the game.
Oh, let's have a listen.
Joining me is one of the co-coaches, Ben Walker. 42-20 loss. I guess what can you take out of this week?
Look, we weren't at our best, and we're playing the top of the table leaders. So when they're playing well and we're not playing particularly, and we didn't play particularly well, it's going to be a tough ask. But we competed really hard and never threw the towel in, which is fantastic. But we're a little bit off to start the game, and they get a couple of lucky tries, and she's all over.
Completions and last play options, bit of a killer in both halves.
Oh yeah, tackle 1 to tackle 6. There are bad options being taken, but that happens most weeks. So today they played really well and made us pay for it.
Another inspirational performance by Nat Neal, especially in the second half, going over for a try. I guess he's almost secured him a spot on that resident side.
I'd be surprised if Nat doesn't play for the residents. He's terrific for us every week, and there's a reason he's the skipper in our team. It's because he leads by example, and he did that again today.
Last few weeks haven't been great for the side. I guess this week you had no Dane Phillips, and obviously Michael Purcell's been out for a few. Are injuries behind some of these performances?
No, not at all. Dane was a late withdrawal this morning with a bad flu. Percy's out with a broken arm, and Rory Humphries was out as well. So, 3 of our starting players, were missing, but it's certainly not an excuse, that's for sure.
And off to Cougarai next week against Wynnum. I guess, how do you prepare for that game?
I didn't even know we were playing Wynnum, so we'll prepare Tuesday. as of Tuesday. Same we do every week.
And that was a very good interview there, Terry. Well done. I love your interview
Yeah,
skills.
very well. Thank you. No, but it shows that I don't know if that's a good thing that, most coaches are under stress and they know who they're playing. They're starting to, analyse their performance and, I guess, prepare for the next game. And I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing that Ben doesn't know who's playing next week.
Yeah, that was really interesting. I'm like, wouldn't you know? Like, even I'm only gonna keep up with sports because I'm producing a football show. But like, still, I feel like he should know. That's a bit weird, anyway. Yeah.
But he's partnership with his brother, so maybe his brother handles all that stuff. So.
Oh, true.
But in other results, Townsville beat Capras 32-12. East had a good win over PNG 30-12. Wynnum probably got a good victory over the Cutters 34-20, but let's see how they go this week against Ipswich. Pride beat South 42-30. 42-16, Reckless beat Tweed, which ends Tweed's 6-game run.
Oh, yes.
And a close nail-biter with Sunshine Coast defeating Norse by 1 point, 23-22, with a field goal with 1 minute to spare in the game. So that was very good, which means there's been some huge changes in the ladder.
Yeah.
Obviously, Burleigh Bears are still on top, and they're 4 points clear. But then you got Dolphins, Townsville Blackhawks, and Magpies on 18. Pride on 16, the Devils, Jets, and Seagulls. That's Tweedhead Seagulls on 14, and then that's the top 8. And then Tigers, Falcons, Hunters all on 12 points, and Wynnum Seagulls on 10, and both Capras and Cutters at the bottom with 8 points apiece.
Well, coming up this weekend. Let's not talk about this weekend. Let's talk about the State of Origin. Wow. So last time we spoke, the Queensland team was announced, I believe, and now the New South Wales team has been announced. So, in your view, let's throw a prediction out there. This first round coming up on Wednesday. Who do you think will take the first round?
I think Queensland will. I think that there's too many defensive lapses in the New South Wales backline. I guess both centres, both wingers for New South Wales on average each week miss 50 tackles, which is huge. Wow. And, it's all about defence in an Origin game. So I guess that's concerning, but you don't know. They're quick. They're speedy little fellas on the edges, and anything's possible. So I guess it's hard to judge because, they've got 11 debutants in the New South Wales side, and Queensland have got a few themselves, but they've also got a bit of experience. So who knows? It's a knife edge, and it's in Melbourne, so MCG, big out, hopefully they're looking at 75,000, but just, still shy of the 91,000 capacity. So let's see what happens.
Yes, very good. And of course, After the 80 will be on this Wednesday, and I'm looking forward to it because I can't want to organise like an Origin special type thing. We'll get all fancy with our colours, and of course, Terry and I were talking over text. I know it was through emails actually, and you mentioned you should change the background to a maroon because there's usually a blue, and we shouldn't be supporting the New South Wales scum.
I think I said filth, and Obama has replied because he's a New South Welshman himself. But I guess, do I pull a bit of rank? Do I sit there and go, well, I am the host, and I don't know, Nick. I might have to walk if I don't get my way.
Oh wow! Oh, awesome. And bless you, Terry. Of course, again after this Wednesday, and thank you again for coming on the air with us this today.
No worries at all, Nick. And like I said, with that maroon backdrop, mate, make it happen, or you might be hosting it yourself, mate.
Oh, thank you, Terry. Coming up, we have Born This Way by Lady Gaga, but right now, Starlight by Superman Lovers.
This day in history.
Listen mornings live and local on Brisbane Youth Radio on 1197 AM and digital radio outline at phoenixradio.com.au. It just ticked past 42 minutes past 10 or 18 minutes to 11. You could say either way. Depends if you're an optimist or not. Is that not,
Does
is that,
it really,
is that
though?
like a glass half full thing? I don't know.
But what do you mean? What's the difference between it's 43 minutes past 10 or 18 minutes to 11? What's the optimist and what's the pessimist way?
I don't know. I was just trying a conversation.
Maybe you're like, yeah, it's almost 11.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
oh, it's only 42 minutes past 10.
Anyway, history.
I had a nice confused look on my face. So.
In 1876, an express train called the Transcontinental Express arrives in San Francisco via the first Transcontinental Railroad only 83 hours and 39 minutes after leaving New York City. That's actually pretty quick.
So
It is
it
pretty quick
wasn't
for
the
back in
Polar
the time.
Express. Okay.
Not the
That's why I laughed. Sorry.
No. So in 1912, Massachusetts becomes the first state of the United States to set a minimum wage.
That's good.
Yeah, that is good. That's a
The
problem.
minimum wage is just still not good in America.
It's still not good.
It's still
yeah, but it's good that there's at least a minimum.
At least
Yeah.
they set a
And
bar.
yeah, staying in the US in 1919, women's rights. The US Congress approves the 19th Amendment to the United States Constitution, which guarantees suffrage to women. From what I understand, that's voting, the ability to vote.
Yeah, that was the first wave of feminism was the right to vote.
Yes, and sends it to the US states for ratification. That happened in 1919 on this day. So
Next one. Oh, I can do it. You're pointing to me.
I wanted to do the one after.
we've got a bunch of World War ones, and I love World War history.
But first of all, in 1939, the MS St. Louis, a ship carrying 963 Jewish refugees, is denied permission to land in Florida in the United States after already being turned away from Cuba. Forced to return to Europe, more than 200 of its passengers later die in Nazi concentration camps.
There is a lot of dark things that people don't know about both world wars. It pays to go and find. There's a documentary about what happened to the Germans and how they were treated by the Russians after the World War. It pays a lot to watch and learn what really happened.
Oh, yeah.
Very much so. In 1940, during World War II, the Dunkirk evacuation ends. British forces complete evacuation of 338. How do I say that? 338,000 troops from Denmark in France to rally the morale of the country. Winston Churchill delivers only to the House of Commons his famous "We shall fight on the beaches" speech.
In another great evolution of World War II, today in 1944, Rome falls to the Allies, and that was the first Axis capital to fall. And you got to think, so that it's June, isn't it?
Now it's June,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
So, okay,
it's June.
so today's June 4th. The war ended in August of 45, so that's not...
That's
like,
about-
It was a good... It wasn't that long before the entire European and
the
Atlantic
Pacific.
front that was...
Yeah.
Like, that's not a long time.
No.
So it was
So, but as much as it's not a long time, a lot of people play video games and think that the war's over in like a few days. These wars go on for years. That's the first Allied
Axis.
That's the first Allied take back of an Axis
right,
control.
right.
Yeah. That happened in 44, right? They were only evacuating the troops in 1940. That's 4 years between when they had to evacuate from the mainland of Europe because Germany controlled it to when they finally started to gain it back. That's 4 years. That's as long as our university degree here.
That's insane.
That's insane. Yeah.
I was going to make a joke, but I'm like, say like a Bachelor of War. I don't know, something dumb.
Can I do this one?
Yeah, you can do this one.
So in 1989, which is a good year for music, but not so good for this, the Tiananmen Square protests violently ended in Beijing by the People's Liberation Army, with at least 241 dead. So that was never good. That was the event that has a lot of famous images from that.
Yeah, and a lot of images that people can't and don't see. 241 dead is, if I remember correctly, that's the official statement that the government of China at the time, I don't know if it was a government, gave the rest of the world.
So
It wasn't a government, it was a
1,000
communist
times more.
country.
Yeah, historians estimate that number is drastically underestimated, and that it's much, much more. And again, this is like the World War. It pays to actually research and to see what actually happened because it's quite horrible. And we got some better news here. In 2010, the Falcon 9 Flight 1 is the maiden flight for the SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket, which launches from Cape Canaveral Air Force Station Space Launch Complex 40.
Ooh, space.
Yes, I love space.
And it's a little tidbit of history. This happened yesterday, but like, it's still pretty big.
There's no show yesterday, so we have to do it today.
We have to do it today. It has been 65 years and 1 day since Queen Elizabeth II was crowned Queen. Yes, Queen. And Alistair just shakes his head at me. It's like, he's so done.
We'll talk about...
I'm afraid of giving my opinion.
Oh, yeah, that's all right. And we'll talk about this one a little bit later in the world news, but Canon has announced it will stop selling its film camera, the EOS 1V. Manufacturing of the Canon film cameras stopped in 2010, though they continued to sell remaining stock. They have since pulled those from the shelves.
And after this, we're going to have like a little special segment from you.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Big yes.
What the f-stop is about information of the development of a particular camera, and we'll be talking about that
Lovely.
later.
Ooh, I love it. I can't wait. That's the history of today.
Cool.
Yes.
I love World War history.
Oh, it's fascinating.
Makes me sad.
And you know
it's just sad.
It's a site everyone needs to see, fallen.io. And it puts into a visual perspective of how many lives were lost during the World War II. Specifically 2, not 1, just 2. And it's as you can tell, words cannot describe. It's horrible.
But like, as it is sad, but it is interesting the fact that we know about this and it wasn't covered up. Because I feel like if, let's say, Germany won, we wouldn't know a lot of things, especially like concentration camps. And again, like, you know, we don't, in the Chinese one, the Beijing People's Liberation Army, 241 dead. We would get the same result if Germany won. Like, only like 1 million people.
They're like, not many people died.
More.
Yeah. In Germany, it's illegal to say the Holocaust never happened.
Oh yeah.
That's the type of stuff I like. I don't like the way that you know, the People's Liberation Army is like, only 241 people died. There's no media coverage of the event. Everything went swimmingly well. Whereas Germany is like, this happened, and we need to acknowledge that.
Exactly.
It's like a disclaimer.
Are you talking about the comics, the Warner Brother comics? This disclaimer that they have before some of their olds,
exactly
how they say that these are productions of their time, and some of the stuff in it is racist. They acknowledge that it's racist, but it would be wrong to erase them.
Yes.
Because you might as well say it never happened.
Exactly.
And that's wrong in itself. And I love the fact that they did that.
Yeah.
It's a nice little... And I like the way that they phrase that too, because they said something along the lines of, it was wrong then, it's wrong now.
It's still wrong now, yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
But anyway, here's Bad Liar by Selena Gomez.
With my feelings on fire, guess I'm a bad liar.
That was Bad Liar by Selena Gomez. Listen to Mornings Live and Local on Brisbane Youth Radio on 1197 AM and Digital Radio and online at phoenixradio.com.au. Alex.
And now it's time for What the F Stop with, well, me.
So it's 2005, you're sitting around with your photography and cinematography buddies. You're thinking, damn, I really need a full frame camera, but I'd like it to be in that small form factor, mostly exclusive to APS-C sized cameras. Your buddy's like, well, just wait around for a little bit because Canon has announced the 5D. And you're like, what the F-stop is the Canon 5D? To start the story, we're going to rewind to 2005. There's a bunch of full-frame cameras that are anticipated to be released, but nobody expects the small 5D. The Canon 5D, unlike its larger, bigger, bulkier full-frame cameras, was the first camera of its time to feature a full-frame sensor in a form factor that was mostly exclusive to only APS-C sized cameras. Traditional full-frame cameras came in much larger bodies and with a hefty price tag to follow, turning away a lot of customers. Contax, Canon, and Kodak all had full-frame cameras, but their price ranged from $4,000 to $8,000. And they also ranged from having 6 megapixels to only 14, and in a full-frame camera that's not much by today's standards. They also came in much larger form factors. A lot of people are very familiar with the 1D and how big it is. The 5D is already a pretty big camera, but the 1D adds another grip to the bottom. All full-frame digital cameras were this big. In comes the Canon 5D. It has a 12 megapixel camera, but only ranges from $2,000 to $3,000 upon release. Back in the noughties, a lot of photographers got used to the 35mm film format. But unfortunately, the digital scene didn't have 35mm sensors in an accessible form. They usually had APS-C size sensors, creating a crop factor of 1.6 or 1.7, meaning that your 50mm lens turned into an 80mm lens, and this turned away a lot of users. The 5D became the camera of choice for professional photographers, though cinematographers didn't get their grubby little hands on it just yet. The first 5D didn't have video yet. Photographers finally got what they wanted. They got a full 35mm sensor in the form factor of an APS-C sized camera. Things couldn't get much better for photographers, but in comes the Canon 5D Mark II in 2008. The Canon 5D Mark II was the first camera to introduce full HD 1080p recording to their DSLR lineup. It also had a 21 megapixel sensor, almost doubling the amount in the previous model. While Nikon had full HD 720p recording and Panasonic had a full HD 1080p recording in digital DSLRs before the 5D Mark II, the 5D Mark II was the first full-frame camera to introduce video recording. This is why cinematographers started to notice the 5D. That, matched with the HDMI output, meant that cinematographers could finally take advantage of external recorders on their full-frame DSLR camera. And this is where the independent filmmaker fell in love with the Canon 5D. And it wasn't long until 4 years later, Canon announced the 5D Mark III. The Canon 5D Mark III released in 2012. It included a 22 megapixel sensor, not that big of a jump from the Mark II. The 5D now entered Canon's most premium cameras. It included weatherproofing and 100% viewfinder accuracy. When cinematographers and photographers thought their 5D Mark III couldn't get any better, in comes Magic Lantern, a third-party software that works on the firmware of the camera to increase its capabilities. People installed and swore by Magic Lantern to get the best and the most out of their camera. And so the 5D Mark III became the independent filmmaker's camera of choice. But wait, there's more. There is. The 5DS. Just 3 years later though, Canon announced the Canon 5DS. Just that, 5DS, no marks. It came in two flavors, the 5DS and the 5DSR. The 5DS featured a 50 megapixel full frame camera, though no improvements were made to its video capabilities. And the R, the same 50 megapixel camera, but without a low optical pass filter. Let's just pretend I know what that means. Canon stated that the Canon 5DS and the SR would not replace the 5D Mark III and would have their own independent position in the Canon's camera lineup. And to prove that they keep their word, in 2016, Canon introduced the Canon 5D Mark IV. And boy was it packed full of features. It included the original weatherproofing that we had in the 5D Mark III, and it also introduced Wi-Fi functions and inbuilt GPS. And one more thing that made a lot of people very happy. The Canon 5D Mark IV came with 4K. All four of them. 1, 2, 3, 4Ks. They were in there in the Canon 5D Mark IV, except it was cropped. It was cropped. 1.74 crop factor to the original full frame sensor in 4K mode. That's worse than the Canon's APS-C cameras. That's almost as cropped as a MFT GH4. What? People were not happy about it. Canon kind of really missed the mark with this one. The reason why people loved the 5D was because it was a small full frame camera, and here they are offering 4K, something that everybody wished and dreamed and finally got, but it was cropped. 1.7. GH5 is now a better video camera than anyone could have ever hoped. Blackmagic is introducing a video only camera that's even smaller than a GH5. The Sony Alpha series also includes a 4K lineup in the full frame form factor, as well as being able to practically see in the dark, catering for photographers as well. Other cameras such as the Hasselblad and Leica tend to those more niche markets of needing the higher resolution images that people desire. Having digital backs attached to old film cameras is also another option that may not have been available back in the day. With some digital backs ranging of upwards of 100 megapixels, though they come with a price tag of almost $20,000. The Mark III is still a very much loved camera and remains in some people's kits. It's not a body you would replace anytime soon, though it is starting to show its age. And unfortunately, its successor, the Mark IV, didn't live up to the hype that everyone was expecting from Canon. Canon has shown that they're a little bit disconnected from their user base, and other cameras are starting to catch up. With better options available out there, a lot of Canon users have started to jump ship with adapters that make their Canon products compatible with their new cameras that offer better solutions than the Canon lineup. It's a no-brainer that people are moving to these cheaper and better systems. This is actually for the better for those who own these systems. With more users using a wider range of devices, we get more accessories and more ways to customize our kits. Maybe Canon will release a new camera by September this year that will make people fall in love with them again. But unfortunately, right now, the 5D Mark IV isn't that camera. And that's what the f-stop, the Canon 5D, is. This was the first episode of What the F-Stop. More may come. If you want to see the development of What the F-Stop, go check out showreel.com. It's like showreel but with an A instead of an O, because that's my name. You can also follow me on Instagram and Twitter at showreel. Again, with an A, not an O, because that's my name.
This is a Phoenix Media program, an innovation of USQ.
And yes, it's time for our pop quiz, and I am in love with this theme. This is the first time we use it.
It's amazing!
It's brilliant.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It gets you pumped.
It's on.
Ready.
It's time for the quiz! So, of course...
Is there any questions about hydration?
Okay, that's off-air stuff. We're not going to talk about that.
We'll do a behind-the-scenes show one day and share it with our viewers.
Anyway, so we have our returning champion, of course, Alistair.
Good morning, everyone.
And of course, he's been here for the entire show because that's basically his prize, is to come back
Yeah,
every
to come
week.
back every week.
That's my consolation prize.
And on the line, we have Henry. Hello, Henry.
Hello, how are you?
Oh, good. Yourself? Tell us a bit about yourself.
I am a law student living in Brisbane. I come from England, as you may have heard from the accent, maybe.
Oh, yes, I can hear a bit of it, yes.
And, but mostly I play music. I play drums.
Oh, nice. That's pretty cool. I wish I was musically talented, but I'm not.
Oh, well, me neither, but, you know.
All good. So let's jump into the quiz. So we need to establish...
what it's about.
So, Henry, you can... So, when you want to pop in, you can choose either a ding or a buzz.
Okay, I'm going to go with ding. I think it's more like...
Everyone likes ding.
more.
Everyone chooses ding. I always get stuck with buzz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that a buzzkill for you?
Oh.
All right. So the quiz today is about. Let's just move on.
That was really lame.
The quiz today is about chocolate, and it's true or false, I think.
For the first one, I think.
For the first one, okay, yes, we have to explain each and individual one as we go. That's okay. We'll do that. All right. So the first question. You guys ready?
Yep.
All right. Chocolate gives you more of a high than kissing does. True or false?
Ding, true.
That is.
No, false.
Oh, which one? No, we have to choose.
No, I'm sorry, but if you're correct, no, you got it wrong. It is, in fact, true.
Oh.
Yeah. A study in UK found chocolate caused a more intense and longer-lasting buzz, there's that word again, than kissing, and doubled volunteers' heart rates.
Sorry, I'm just laughing at the study. Are you just imagine just someone coming up to you and just be like, "Hey, have some chocolate." Just stethoscope to your chest.
What are you doing? Nothing.
Maybe that's why their heart was palpitating. Just some random UK student was like, "Stethoscope, chocolate."
Okay, next question. True or false? Is World Chocolate Day a real event?
But what's the word? Buzz.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
That is correct. It is. It's celebrated on July 7th, but the United States celebrates it on September the 13th.
Of course, I want to be different.
Yeah. Alrighty. Yeah, so did Mayans first consume chocolate as a drink that was sweet or spicy? Sweet or spicy?
Buzz.
Whoa. I don't know.
Spicy.
That is correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because there's because if you buy certain kinds of chocolate, especially like Spaniard chocolate or Colombian chocolate, they're really tiny because they have chilies in them.
Yes, yeah. So Mayan Indians made the drink chocolate
Cocoa.
olatul from
latte.
roasted cocoa beans, water, and a little spice, usually chili.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
The more you know. Next question. There are 3 types of cocoa beans and 1 hybrid.
Dang true.
Sorry.
That's false. There
I'm
are
useless.
2 main types of cocoa beans: Forastero, Crolio, and Trinitario, which is a hybrid of the 2.
Oh, wow. The more you know.
Yeah.
What does it mean? What does it mean by? Oh, okay. No, I
Yeah,
get it.
so
that's
the two,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, now I get it. Yep.
Now, final question, Alex.
There you go.
Okay, it takes 12,000 litres of water to produce a chocolate Easter bunny. True or false?
Dang true.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Oh,
University
I
of
gotta get one of them.
Yeah, University of Western Australia professor Anas, I cannot pronounce that last
That's a
name.
complicated last name.
Guahandudani said the water.
My dad should be listening, so should be okay.
Thanks.
Are you saying that we're not popular?
She said the water footprint of chocolate was 24,000 litres for every kilogram produced, enough to fill a backyard swimming pool.
They're obviously running out of things to investigate. If you're investigating how much it takes to make chocolate, surely there's other things you can use scientific research
and
for.
the first one, the chocolate
buzz,
versus a kiss. Maybe someone really lonely is like, I want to fill my heart with the same buzz.
Some really lonely university student.
It's like, what can I fill the void with? Chocolate.
And Alice is our winner again for the 5th week in, 100th week in a row. I've lost count.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, Henry. He's just our reigning champion.
Dang.
Undefeated.
Well, I reckon he gets to look at the questions first, or he's sneaking a look.
Oh, he better not be.
Yeah, it better not be, because yeah.
He's not. Well, he's just that much of a smart boy.
If you want to see what's on my computer screen,
It's just memes.
It's just a bunch of memes.
It's just a bunch of memes.
All good. Well, thank you for coming on the show, Henry. It was nice briefly meeting you.
Thank you. Yeah.
That's all.
Nice to be on air.
We're gonna all remember your name one day, Henry. This is where it starts.
Oh, okay. All right.
You'll be a Today in History segment. On what's the date today?
Today's the 4th.
On the 4th of June, 2018, Henry first appeared on radio.
Yeah. Well, and I've been on radio before, guys.
Oh, he's been.
Okay.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow. All right.
Oh,
Community radios have been going crazy for a bit of Henry.
Oh. I love it. Thank you again,
Fantastic.
Henry.
Thank you so much, Henry. Thank you.
Have a good day. I'll see you guys not later. I'll hear you guys later.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.
Yes.
Bye.
By the TuneIn app.
By the TuneIn app, yes.
Yes. So right now we've got some Jessica Malboy, but coming up we've got some Jessica Malboy with We Got Love, the Eurovision song. But right now we've got Lucas Graham with 7 Years.
Beautiful. Thank you.
And listen, mornings live and local on Brisbane Youth Radio on 11:07 a.m. and the radio and online phoenixradio.com.au. It's currently 25 past 11, and I nailed the intro that time.
Nice.
And now onto the news.
New
Alex.
world news, right? So Canon is officially done with film. The camera maker just announced that it's ending sales of its last film camera, the EOS 1V. In 2006, reports said that Canon was ending production of all film cameras, but the company never officially confirmed this. Instead, Canon quietly stopped making them, The EOS 1V is a 35mm SLR camera that released in 2000. Since Canon reportedly stopped making the EOS 1V in 2010, it's likely that Canon still had a few units in stock it was selling. Today's announcement marks the end of that. At the very least, Canon says it will continue repairing the EOS 1V until the 31st of October in 2025, but it also adds that it may refuse to repair after October 31st, 2020 due to lack of replacement parts. So if you already have the camera, you'll still be able to get it fixed. For now, just don't get your hopes up for buying a new one.
Wow.
It's literally the end of an era for one of the biggest camera manufacturers in the world.
Wow.
That's insane.
It makes me feel like all three of us, I would say the three of us, we have a degree of, I don't want to say living in the past, but the three of us have an appreciation for retroactivity of things. Like, I still like to use, like, I still like CDs. I still like records.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'll use streaming services, but I like laptops that aren't all touch. I like laptops that...
With the keyboard.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Keyboard, mouse.
And it's exactly the end of the era with the camera. We're going to miss analog filming, like the way it used to be. This is literally the end of an era for film.
It had a look as well to it. There's a camera called, and I can never pronounce it right, Leica. They have developed a camera that solely, and it's a digital camera, but they've spent so much money developing its sensor to look like film, and that's why it costs so much. But they've also released a digital camera that only shoots in black and white, and it's supposed to look like black and white film. Wow. So, like, at what extent are we going to stop emulating and just kind of go? Because this, like everything, like records coming back into play, you know, we try to emulate what a record sounds like, and then eventually we just, screw it, let's just use records.
True.
When are we going to go back?
Say, well, we have editing programs, but then it's not the same as recording it raw with black and white.
Why not just improve that technology instead of emulating it? Go back to it, but just improve what it was.
And personally, I don't see the point of a black and white only digital camera. Like, we were always told, never shoot in black and white, because if you don't want it in black and white, that's it. It's done.
But I guess nowadays we have such an appreciation of retro, as you were just saying, of retro things like records, black and white, film, and
don't forget, pop culture is going exceedingly retro. Even lo-fi trap songs are trying to emulate 808 drum beats that are tinged with hoop, snare, drums, and reverb. Cinematic of the 70s and the 80s.
Oh yeah,
Stranger Things, Ready Player One. Everyone's going through an 80s revival. We are going through such a revival. But it's almost coming to a crutch. It's like we're getting to an apex where we're going.
Yeah.
There. That's why I love the fact that it's now cool again to listen to records and CDs, because I've never grown out of it. But
last week I literally bought an artist it's a small artist I follow. They're having their first album release in August, and I've pre-ordered their CD, even though I don't buy CDs. But
see, the only problem I have is I don't have a CD player.
In my car, I do.
And the thing
so do I, but I don't even know if it works. I've never used it.
I think the biggest irony with that too is that, like, I used to work in a Chinese restaurant quite a few years ago, and I had a crew with me that didn't know how to change from the aux position on a CD player to CD. Wow! And that's literally just on function CD, play CD. They didn't know how to put it in. They didn't know how to change it. Like, and that was everyone bar two people, which is myself and a friend of mine. Everyone else just didn't know how to use a CD, and that's happening. So, in other news, Spanish socialist Pedro Sanchez has been sworn in as the country's new prime minister by King Felipe, as after the ousting of conservative Mariano Rajoy. Mr. Sanchez took the oath to protect the Constitution without a Bible or crucifix, and this is the first in Spain's modern history, as he is an atheist. He plans to see out the remaining 2 years of the parliamentary term. The socialist leader won the support of 6 other parties to remove Mr. Rajoy after a massive corruption scandal.
It'll be interesting to see how this progresses and see what end up happening. Will it be an overall positive thing for Spain, or will it be overall negative? I just want to see
I can't comment because I don't want to disambiguate my political views on air. However, I think Italy could take a cue from this as well, because Italy's political system's quite in disarray at the moment.
Oh, is it?
Oh yeah, for sure and certain. And they're a socialist country, so they really need to reassess how they go with their voting. They really need to get a commission in corruption, I feel, and that's exactly what Spain's done. And no matter where it goes from there, you have to respect the fact that the people have spoken, the parliament has spoken, that the people deserve better.
Can I just say that from now on, you're now pronouncing all names on air?
I like those pronunciations. That's really good. It does help with your Italian heritage, I guess, but it is Spanish names, but like still, it's like similar dialects.
It's all derived from Latin, boys.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm just Australian trash.
I mean, technically we're all trash. But
we are all trash together.
Every Anglo-Saxon is trash.
We are the world.
We are the children. We are the ones that make it better. Continue.
Anyway,
China.
China has warned the United States that any agreements reached on trade and business between the two countries will be void if Washington implements tariffs and other trade measures as the two enter their latest round of talks in Beijing. The warning came after delegations led by the US Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross and China's top economic official Vice Premier Lu. Oh, wait, how you say it? Lu He. I think so.
Lu He.
Lu He?
Lu He.
Yeah. Wrapped up a meeting on Beijing's pledge to narrow its trade surplus. Mr. Ross said at the start of the event they had discussed specific American exports China might purchase, but the talks ended with no joint statement and neither side released details.
That's another interesting thing, because as we know, that's a big controversial hot button, is the US imposing tariffs on other countries. So that is something that China is rebutting. Obviously, everyone's rebutting to it. Even Australia has to an extent. I think Prime Minister Turnbull has addressed it. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. But if I had to give my uninformed, uneducated, naive opinion, it's not going to Trump is not going to President Trump is not going to how would I say in an eloquent term, his economic portfolio is not going to look good by the end of his 4-year term because it's about what you know, it's about what you deal with, and it's about your networks.
But if you look at his economic history, you can already tell because he's had many failed businesses and very. You can go on for years about this, but I just don't have the energy.
We can go for ages about President Trump.
And his history of businesses and Trump University, that massive flop.
The entrepreneurship that he tried because he wanted to be a wannabe Richard Branson, and that failed exponentially.
Let's not talk about that.
Let's not. And listeners, this isn't about. I will make that clear. This isn't a hate speech on Trump's tariffs or anything. It's just the fact that the evidence has shown that his economic background is not that strong.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on to some songs. We've got an interview after this, but it's going to be a surprise interview. You have to listen after these songs to listen to the interview if you want to know what it is. So, Chained to You by Savage Garden. But right now, we've got some Taylor Swift from a new album, Reputation, her song Delicate.
They sing for the best.
And that was Chained to You by Savage Garden. It's currently 20 minutes to 12. You listen to Mornings Live and Local on Brisbane Youth Radio on 1197 AM and Digital Radio and online at phoenixradio.com.au. Now, in the studio with us today is Associate Professor Angela Fitzgerald, who is the project team leader for the STEM Club project. Angela, how are you today?
Great. Thanks for welcoming into your little studio. Lovely to meet you three. Nice warm vibe. So I feel very welcome. Thank you.
We're just really excited to get into the questions and hear some of this because it's just really engaging. So
yeah, cool.
So of course, first of all, what is STEM and why is it important?
Yeah, so I guess I see STEM as really just a way to explain science, technology, engineering and maths in an integrated way. I think realistically we don't do those things in isolation. The world doesn't exist in compartments. So when we start to engage with the world, STEM makes sense. And so I think it's important to be thinking about it like that and to be assisting kids and young people to engage with it like that as well.
And so how is STEM going to help this youth, the generation of youth that we have, and how's it going to help our future as well?
Yeah, I reckon that's such an interesting question. I was driving along this morning listening to the radio, not this station. Unfortunately, I know. Early reveal, yeah. But they were talking about the fact that the plastic bag ban is coming into this state.
We covered that this morning.
Yeah, we did.
Right. So that's coming in soon. And they were talking, one person mentioned that there was an example over the weekend of a whale that had washed up somewhere and had plastic bags.
Ate about like 80 or something.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. And so I thought, wow, we have left the future generations with one heck of a mess to clean up and a lot of problems to solve. And so STEM education becomes super important because really it helps in problem solving, making sense of the world, but also just being literate in science, technology, engineering and maths, literate in STEM, meaning that you can make informed decisions, you can question things and not take stuff on face value. So I think it's really important for the future in regards to that. But, you know, they also talk about some huge percentage of jobs that don't exist now that will in the future that will be really STEM dependent. So, you know, it's hard to comment on that right now, but I think we're preparing people for that too.
So you looked at education being a very key factor in it because it's something that will affect the future generations now. So looking at that future generation with kids in school at the moment, if people who are in at schools, primary and secondary schools, if they have similar sort of programs like RPG, IPT, robot clubs, is there any way for them to get involved?
Yeah, there is. So the project's just a couple of months old. So we're taking baby steps, and we'll be working on this for the rest of the year. But one of the components of the project is generating a database of all the STEM clubs that exist in the state. So we have a lot, but I'm sure there's a lot that we've missed out on. So it'd be great if they could somehow reach out to me and let me know that they've got a STEM club, because we would love to know that and be able to put it in the database.
And how will they be able to do that?
Can I give an email?
Yes, I'll go for it.
Yeah, cool. So I'm obviously here at USQ, so it's angela.fitzgerald@usq.edu.au. So I would much appreciate people reaching out and letting us know.
I'm sure if you just contact the University of Southern Queensland, we'll be able to redirect.
That's right, exactly. You'll track me down.
Yeah. And so what's required to maintain a healthy STEM club?
Yeah, such a good question, and a massive spoiler, because that's actually what we're trying to discover through the project. So we've taken some early steps, but the idea is that we're wanting to listen to different STEM clubs across the state and hear what works for them and what doesn't, and what's their challenges, and develop a framework that's going to be able to help other people either improve their STEM clubs or launch new ones. But I reckon some sort of stuff that started to emerge is that there's no one size fits all. So the people that are doing it really well to have a healthy STEM club, as you say, address their context, address the interests and needs of their community. And I guess some common challenges already are things like funding. The dollars are always a bit tricky. So maintaining that, resourcing, and people, I think you guys would know that there's people that make a difference in these kinds of things. So, if you can't maintain or attract someone who wants to run a STEM club, which is often not for profit, then, these things don't go ahead.
Yeah.
But I think it ties into exactly the point you brought in earlier. It's having that awareness and opportunity to be aware about it will bring back that, that ethic about, like if you want engagement, because it is non-for-profit, it is something that's voluntary, it's something that's very community-driven, bringing that in through like schools and all those sorts of things really does promote something so important like this.
Yeah, we think, I guess a couple of things that are really exciting about STEM clubs is that it's outside school. It's not school, so in some ways that's kind of cool.
It's like extracurricular.
And important because it starts to show that, this stuff is actually interesting. And I guess when you're outside of the classroom walls, you can be a bit looser. You're not all about assessment or, those kinds of structures. And so that's really cool about it. We think it's cool because it actually gives alternatives for kids. So not everybody wants to be in sport or music.
Yeah.
So it gives another outlet, but it also is an opportunity to push kids as well. So you might be a really sporty young person, but it doesn't mean you can't be interested in coding or robots or whatever it might be. So we think that's really exciting.
Exactly, because personally, when we went to high school,
we had to do robotics courses.
No, but like with after school stuff, it was basically sport.
Limited options.
Yeah, I had a robotics club, but it only went for 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's right.
That was really fun, and I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
And
we also had a choir that ran for like 2 weeks because there was 12 people that turned up the first week, and the second week 1 turned up.
But of course they didn't have the resources to have that continued thing that you were just talking about. Because again, that's really important to keep getting people interested.
Sure, exactly.
They know the things exist, they'll come to it. I didn't know that we have astronomy clubs here.
Yeah,
small ones, and so I'm now. My father and I are now going to join these astronomy clubs.
Oh, yeah. There are people doing amazing... Once you start to scratch the surface, there are an amazing array of clubs and fanatics, bless them, doing all sorts of incredible things. And I think what we really like about STEM clubs is the idea that what we're really seeing in the initial sort of data that we're starting to draw out is that they're from babies and toddlers right through to adults. There's such a great range. I mean, the younger years are super important because it starts to plant those seeds and interest. And I know that research tells us, if you want people to be interested in STEM, you have to get them engaged early in life to see the relevance. But I love that there's STEM clubs for all ages. I think that's really cool.
Yeah. And I love how you said, you plant, and then you get a little stem. Yeah.
You know where I'm going.
Yes. And again, thank you for coming in the studio
today. Thank you so much.
It's really lovely having you.
Oh, great. Just before I go, I just really want to say that, people listening, this is just not for kids, you know.
Yeah,
absolutely.
We've got a great makerspace here at USQ. Steph Piper, one of our crew in this project team, is the person that runs that space. You know, it's never too late to learn these skills and be engaged in STEM.
So how can we get involved as young people and as adults?
So I guess look what's out there. You know, if you're interested, put in STEM clubs and some really amazing places, particularly I guess it's centred in Brisbane. We'd love to see this across the state more, but there's some great spaces where people are doing fun stuff. But, you know, here at USQ, just look up the Makerspace. It's located in the library at Toowoomba, but Steph's here regularly at Springfield as well, running little activities. So
beautiful.
Yeah. It's just a quick question. Do you think once, because you mentioned a database, do you think there'll be a website maybe one day with a list of STEM clubs, how to get in contact?
Yeah, that's such a great question. I think that will certainly be an endpoint, as well as having the framework that we develop so that people can access it, so they can set up their own STEM clubs.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Watch this space, people.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Again, thank you for coming in. It was lovely meeting you. And it's great to learn more about this. Right now, got some Pnow with Go Bang. Oh, bang, bang.
Bang, bang.
And that was Go Bang by Pnow. You listen to Mornings Live and Local on Brisbane Youth Radio on 1197 AM and digital radio and online at phoenixradio.com.au. You know, it's approaching the end of the show now.
It is. We've had some wonderful people the last 2 weeks. We're going to try and keep it with the space, with the not necessarily space theme, but science in general. It's really like we need to get cameras in the studio because you guys need to see how awesome these people are that we're seeing and how involved we are. We've got a journalist and we've got 2 media students here, and as much as we're interested in science, sometimes we just don't have time to do it because we're studying other things.
It's all about being, in my opinion, it's all about the show, and especially the people we interview, because it's all about an introduction to education.
Yes.
It's all about, hey, here's a taste of what we can do and what you can achieve, because personally I believe, and I think that all 3 of us can agree, education is the most powerful tool against everything.
Yeah.
It's the most powerful tool against health, racism, poverty. Everything comes down to education for me. And to have these guests that are so well knowledgeable in their fields and so enthusiastic about sharing it on here on Phoenix Radio, it's something that is commendable and amazing. And I'm so glad that we can be a part of it.
Just to see the enthusiasm of some of these people. Like, I don't know, the what the F-stop segment is basically me in my bedroom geeking out about cameras. These people are coming into our studio and they're doing the same thing about what they love. And it's great to see
their passion.
Yeah, what makes other people tick. Like what are they?
It's something, it's something like, so I'll use an example from like a good friend of mine. His name's Michael, and we're big music fans, right? But I'd say we differ about like 8 out of every 10 bands that we show each other we don't really like, right? But the thing is, when we have that one band that we do sort of go on to, we both talk like on and on for about
Non-stop.
40 minutes an hour. And the thing is, like, even if it's a band that he likes and I don't, I love listening to him talk about it because just the enthusiasm, just people that genuinely just want to talk about it, I can't stop hearing it. And it's the same with space. It's the same with environmental conservation. And that's probably another reason I love following politics in the ABCs, because watching these people who are so enamored in their fields and politicians who are so for the people or so for this cause, hearing them gets me riled up. And when you can tell if they're not that enthused, and then you're not enthused.
Yeah.
That's a very important aspect of film, media, and television for me.
And I completely agree with what you just said with, you love listening to people being enthused about it. Like, that's how I develop any, like, friendships or anything in my life, like,
just listen
by listening to them. And like, because if I can know they're passionate about this one thing, that means they are very, I don't know what's the word, like,
it makes them feel a bit more human.
Yes.
And more likable.
Exactly.
Because at the end of the day, this is something that's really fun. Did you know that fan, if you're a fan of something, that's just shorthand for fanatic? They're actually the same word. Fan and fanatic are the same word.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that, did you?
No.
But that's what it makes the fanatic look like a fan.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And like, I love listening to people who are passionate about this. I want to get more, like, I would actually love to get more sciencey people in. Like, unfortunately, in my high school experience, we had science, of course, it's a subject.
It was mandatory, I think, when we went through school.
But
we could do it up until grade 10.
10.
Really?
So in grade 8, I didn't have good teachers, to be honest. So
Yeah.
in grade 8,
Yeah.
I had a teacher whose second language was English, and she was a nice lady, but like I just could not understand what she was teaching.
Yeah.
And plus, I was in a bad class, and that's also a running theme. I was in bad classes because since I didn't do well in grade 8, I was in the bad class for grade 9 and 10.
Yeah.
And so there were
The hierarchy of education. love
so
it.
there were idiots in my class who disadvantaged me.
Yeah.
And in grade 9, I'm not going to mention names, of course, but in grade 9, we had this one teacher who'd turn up for the first few weeks of the year and disappear for the rest of the year. She
Really?
did this every single year. She still does it. She's still at our high school. I'm not even kidding, because my sister had her in grade 9.
I know, yeah, I know.
Had her, but she didn't turn up for the rest of the year, of course.
Yeah.
We don't know why. It's a big mystery. And in grade 10, we were in Mrs. Faulkner's class.
Yeah.
And she was a good teacher. Again, it was bad class. And that was what disadvantaged me.
I think I remember,
just
like you
mentioned
said,
names.
Yeah, but I was saying good of her.
good teacher.
She was a good teacher, but it was bad class.
In grade 10, it was mandatory. Science was mandatory up until grade 10. And I agree with you. Because it was mandatory, you had the kids who didn't really care about it.
Yeah.
And it made the teachers not care about it. And that's...
And then when you get into senior year, that's when you get to the nitty. It gets harder, but then it gets better.
But that's the problem with my particular experience, was because we didn't get much education done in year 10 because the kids were screwing around and the teacher couldn't really do... Like, honestly, my teacher couldn't teach because the kids were so rowdy.
Yeah.
When
It's
it came
unfortunate.
to the more harder stuff, it was just a little bit too much because I didn't have that previous background, and that's what kind of sucks. But yeah, it's hard to really say, but yeah, I think it comes down to the problem with the way that we sort of force kids into it.
Absolutely.
It's something that we need to introduce at a younger age, but perhaps forcing people, maybe letting them understand for themselves, and that's what science is all about. Not telling people this is how things work, it's showing them.
I
and
think that's why
helping them
STEM is very
understand.
important. Like,
Yeah.
I cannot wait to see where this project goes
Yeah.
because it has so much potential.
And we kept accidentally saying things like, oh, you know, in schools and everything. This isn't for school. This is everywhere. Like, if you're 68 and you're like, I got some spare time, search this up because they're out there and there's probably a bunch of people there who could really enjoy, you know, teaching you a few things. And that's great.
But this is where we have to say goodbye now to our Brisbane Youth Radio at 11:07 a.m.
Just before we leave, I'd like to give a lovely thank you to Gabby, our
Yes.
fantastic producer. Thank you.
But of course, we have to go here because we will be back here next Monday.
Next week.
And more space and science. And
Unfortunately, I will not be here. Sorry.
what?
Sorry.
You're
That's
fired.
okay.
Sorry, guys. No, I've got an exam.
Oh, you better
That's
head
all
to
right.
that. But anyway, thank you for listening. We'll be
Thank
back
you
here
so
next
much.
week. And of course,
Keep it live, keep it local.
oh, I love that. Yes.
Ooh.
Right now, Cold Water by Major Lazer and
Thanks,
Justin
guys.
Bieber.
Thanks for having
Bye.
me.